So in the last lecture we were looking at iterative methods for solving linear algebraic equations, and in particular we looked at two different methods. One was Gauss-Seidel method, another was Jacobi method. I want to solve linear algebraic equation Ax equal to b. We looked at two methods. One was Jacobi method, other was Gauss-Seidel method, and I want to look at one more variation of these two methods. In fact, there are many variations. I am just going to indicate a few of them, but this is over relaxation or relaxation method is slightly conceptually different from these two, in the sense that you are trying to introduce a tuning parameter which will accelerate convergence. So what we are really going to look at is, well, what I told you that in general Jacobi method is slower than the Gauss-Seidel method. Gauss-Seidel method, the difference is that when a new iterate is formed, we use that in the next calculations. That is the difference between Gauss-Seidel and Jacobi method. So Gauss-Seidel method actually tends to converge much faster than the Gauss-Seidel method converges much faster than the Jacobi method. Now I want to see whether I can do still better. Can I still further enhance the convergence? Okay. So this relaxation method, this is a variant of these iterative schemes. Basic idea is like this. Suppose I am at this point y, let's call this point y, and I want to reach y star. I want to reach this point y star. I'm currently at this point y, okay? I'm currently at this point y, and to reach from here to here I apply some method, okay? I apply some method. So let's say my method takes me from here to this point, which is y cap, okay? So I'll denote this point as plus. Okay, I am at initial point y. I have some method by which I am going to reach y star. Y star is where I want to go. Okay, but I have a method of going from here to here. Okay, when I apply this method, okay, I go from y to y cap. Now if going from y to y cap is taking me closer to y star, okay, I could move more in this direction, okay, I could move more in this direction and then go closer, even closer, try to go in closer. Okay, so what I can do is I can go to a point y tilde, which is y plus omega times y minus y cap. So y cap is where my first method takes me. Y tilde is where if I enhance movement in this direction will take me. So let's say this is my y tilde. So I'm going to move further in the same direction. So I'm going to enhance movement in that direction by moving in. So my next iterate is not going to be y cap, but I'm going to have my next iterate as y tilde, which is obtained by moving further in the direction. So the idea here is like this, that if I start using Gauss-Seidel method, okay, I'll get, let's say I am at y, through Gauss-Seidel I reached y cap, okay. So instead of taking y cap as my next iterate, what I could do is I can look at this direction y minus y cap and then multiply that and add that to y. So I'll reach a point which is even further, even probably closer to y star. This is the basic idea in this relaxation business. There are two kinds of relaxations. One relaxation is over relaxation, so we are going further. In some cases, it's under relaxation. Sometimes, this direction in which you are going might be too far away from Y star. You may have to contract, you may have to come back. Okay, so there are two possibilities. One is omega is less than 1, so this is and well, there should be some limit. In this case, it turns out to be, for linear systems, it turns out to be 2. So this is over relaxation. Okay, so basically what I am going to do here is something like this. Well, I am not going to use, in the present case, under relaxation. I am going to use over relaxation. I am going to have omega which is greater than 1. Okay, omega greater than 1. So, see, I am starting from initial guess xk and applying Gauss-Seidel method. Let's say we get, okay, see xik, I am now talking about the ith element of the vector. Okay, from xik, if I apply Gauss-Seidel method, let's say I get zik plus 1. I'm not calling this x again. Okay, this is my intermediate variable because this is not going to be my next iterate. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with the next iterate xk plus 1, okay, by enhancing the movement in this direction. So my xik plus 1, okay, this is going to be xik plus omega times zik plus 1 minus xik, where omega is greater than 1. If omega is equal to 1, we are not interested in that case because we will reduce to Gauss-Seidel method. Okay, I want to enhance, I want to go further than what Gauss-Seidel method is giving me. Just try to understand this. What I am going to do is, I am going to start applying Gauss-Seidel method to find a new point, but the new point I am going to take it as an intermediate point. This new point which I get through Gauss-Seidel, I am going to take an intermediate point. Okay, and the next iteration will be calculated using old guess plus this correction. Now this correction is developed by enhancing or moving further in the direction of the Gauss-Seidel. This is Gauss-Seidel step. Okay, this is the original point. So difference between this will give you direction in which you have to move and omega times that. Okay, so this is how I am going to generate the new iterate. Okay, what happens if I put omega equal to 1? It will be Gauss-Seidel. If omega is equal to 1, it is just Gauss-Seidel method. If omega is greater than 1, it is over relaxation. You are moving further than, and the hope is that if I do this, I will reach my solution faster. Okay, so in general, you can even make it move faster to the solution if you choose this omega between 1 and 2. So now the question that naturally comes is, well, how to choose this omega and when will it converge and so on. So we'll of course in a due course I'll answer all those questions. But is the idea clear? We just want to enhance the direction in which we are moving, that is Gauss-Seidel direction, and move a little further so that maybe we'll reach the target faster. Yeah? Yeah, but when you're reaching towards the solution, this will be also small, no? So so there might be some oscillations. It depends upon, now whether it will cause oscillations or whether it will cause a smooth decay will depend upon eigenvalues, and I'm going to talk about that. Okay. So yeah, that's a good guess that you may have a problem when we are close to the solution, you might overshoot. Yeah, so that may happen. So we have to now relate and we have to understand how the convergence occurs, and that's where. Okay, so the actual details you can see here, the algorithm I have given here, how to implement. But if the idea is clear, algorithm will not be difficult to understand. Analysis, implementation part, will be covered when you do programming, and I'm not worried about implementation part or the algorithm. How will you efficiently implement this is given in the tables in the notes, and you can have a look at that when you. The critical part is convergence analysis. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is rearrange my equations in a matrix vector form. Okay, now this will give me a way to analyze this system of equations or the convergence behavior. That's what I want to analyze. The vector matrix notation which I am going to develop here and going to use maybe for next 2 or 3 lectures is not meant for programming. It's not meant for programming. Will be done, row by row. You put a for loop and each row you do calculations. That is how you do the programming for this. The analysis which I'm going to do is going to be using matrices and vectors, and that is mainly because analyzing convergence becomes very easy using vector matrix notations. Okay, so don't confuse the two things. Whatever we did till now was meant for actually programming. Okay, now what I'm going to do is for analysis. Okay, because getting insights into the analysis of this method using summations becomes very, very difficult. Instead of that, if you do everything using matrix notation, it's very easy. Okay, so let's get on to the let's say Gauss-Seidel method. So what is my Gauss-Seidel method? My first equation in the Gauss-Seidel method I can write as A11 x1 k plus 1 is equal to B1 minus summation I going from 2 to n, right? I going from 2 to n, or j going from 2 to n, let's say A1j right? Or let's write it more explicitly. Let's write this instead of summations. It will be better to write this explicitly. So this will be A12 x2k minus A13 x3k A1n xnk. This is my first equation in the Gauss-Seidel method. I have just earlier when I wrote the algorithm, I had divided by A11. Okay, now my intention is different. I want to get some convenient vector matrix notation, so I have multiplied by A11. So this is the equation which I have to solve, right? My second equation here is actually A22 x2 k plus 1 is equal to B2 minus A21 x1 k plus 1 minus A23. Is this fine? This is my second equation, the iteration in Gauss-Seidel method. Okay, this is Gauss-Seidel method. Okay, this is Gauss-Seidel method. The first iterate that was formed is used here. The first iterate that was formed is immediately used here. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange this. I'm going to take this on this side. Okay, I'm going to take it on this side. So I will get A21 x1 k plus 1 plus A22 x2 k plus 1 is equal to b2 minus a23 x3 k Everyone with me on this? I have taken k plus 1 on one side, I have left k on one side. Okay, I have left all xk on one side, I am taking k plus 1 on one side. Not clear? I have just taken this which was substituted on right hand side to left hand side. Okay. Likewise, I can go on doing this. So, what will be for the third one? Can you guess? A31 x1 k plus 1 plus A32 x2 k plus 1 plus A33 x3 k plus 1 is equal to B3 minus A34 x4 k up to A4n xnk. Right? I am taking all xk plus 1 on the left hand side, I am leaving everything that is xk on the right hand side. Okay? Now I want to put this into a vector and matrix notation. It's going to be a long equation. Okay? So this here is A11, A21, A22, do you see this? On the left hand side is the lower triangular part of A matrix, okay? The lower triangular part of A matrix is equal to lower triangular part and the diagonal part, okay? Lower triangular part and the diagonal part. What will I get here? I will get 0, A12 up to A1n, 0, 0, A23, A2n, right? This will be, last element here will be 0 and this will be A n minus 1 n. This into x1k, x2k, xnk plus what will be on this side? Well, I have made a mistake, one mistake, it should be minus here, this should be minus, minus, all this is minus, minus signs will appear here, okay, because we have all minus signs coming there, right, and here will be B vector. If you see, it is B1, B2, B3, B4, okay, the B vector will appear here, okay, this matrix appears here, this matrix appears here, okay. What is the relationship of these matrices? What is the relationship of these matrices to original matrix A? LU? No. What is LU decomposition? LU decomposition is completely different. Don't mistake LU decomposition or LDU U transpose. That is not this. This is physically the lower triangular and the diagonal part of the matrix. This is physically the upper triangular part, minus of upper triangular part. Pardon me? You add it. So this is, if I write this matrix, if I decide to write A matrix as sum of 3 matrices, okay, see, if I decide to write A matrix as sum of 3 matrices, L plus D plus U, don't confuse this with LDU transpose. LU decomposition is different from this. I am just using the notation L and U here. This is not LU decomposition. This is, I mean, if I draw a picture, this is splitting a matrix into 3 parts. This is diagonal, this is strictly upper triangular part of this matrix, and this is strictly lower triangular part of the matrix. This is diagonal elements, this is all elements that are in the, okay. So this is my U, this is my L, and this is my D, okay. So writing this matrix as if I just do pictorially, I am just writing this matrix as addition of 3 matrices, strictly lower triangular part, the diagonal part, and strictly upper triangular part. I am just using the same notation as LU decomposition. This is not same as A is equal to LU, that is multiplication, that comes through Gaussian elimination. This is just simply separating 3 physically separate parts, okay. So this and this, don't confuse, I am just using same notation, that's all. Or also you might see in some books, or even in Strang, you also have this, sometimes you write A as LDU transpose. So don't confuse that and this, okay, only notations are same, okay. So I have written it like this. So this makes me, or this particular way of writing this matrix A allows me to do express this method, Gauss-Seidel method, in a vector matrix notation, okay. So this equation which I have written in matrix form, I am going to rewrite this as L plus D into x k plus 1 is equal to minus U x k plus B. Is everyone with me on this? Just look at the matrices, okay. This is L plus D on the left hand side, multiplying xk plus 1, okay. Here it is U, strictly upper triangular part of A matrix. A is written as L plus D plus U, and then I can write this method. Next iterate is obtained by solving this matrix equation, is equivalent to solving this matrix equation. Actually we are going to do line by line, as I told you. Algorithmically we are not going to write this matrix equation ever, we are going to do line by line calculations, okay. But what you are doing line by line is actually equivalent to this calculation, is that okay? Okay, so which means my next iterate is obtained as xk plus 1 is equal to minus L plus D inverse U xk plus conceptually what you are doing is obtaining a new iterate by this method, okay. Sometime back I talked about inverting the matrix or approximately inverting the matrix and so on. If you look here, we are trying to say, well, I cannot invert the full matrix easily, but I can invert the lower triangular part. It has a nice structure, I can exploit that and invert that, okay, to come up with a new iterate. If I do a similar rearrangement of equations in the case of Jacobi method, then what will I get? If I do, this is for Gauss-Seidel method. For Jacobi method, what you can show is that doing the iterations is equivalent to d times xk plus 1 is equal to minus L plus u xk plus b x k plus 1 is equal to minus d inverse L plus u xk plus d inverse times b. For Jacobi method, if you do rearrangement of the calculations, you can show actually doing one Jacobi step is equivalent to solving this equation. What is nice about Jacobi method? Inverting the diagonal matrix is very easy. Just write 1 upon the diagonal elements, right? That's why we choose to do this. So this is very easy as compared to inverting the whole matrix. If all the diagonal elements are non-zero, if you arrange the matrix in such a way that all the diagonal elements are non-zero, then doing this is very easy. It's okay. So Jacobi method is equivalent to doing this. Okay. Now, what about relaxation method? Okay. Relaxation method, you can show that you have to do a little more algebra to come up with these matrices for the relaxation method, but nevertheless, finally, you get this equation d plus omega L. For relaxation method, it turns out that it is this matrix. Right hand side is this, and it's solving this equation iteratively at each point. Okay, so likewise, there are other variations. What I have taught you is called as actually forward Gauss-Seidel method. There is also reverse Gauss-Seidel method. Okay, then there is a reverse or backward Gauss-Seidel method. Then there is a symmetric Gauss-Seidel method in which you first do forward Gauss-Seidel, then you backward Gauss-Seidel. So there are all kinds of variations which make conversions faster. Okay, so for all of them, you can actually express iterations in terms of these fundamental three components L, D, U. Okay, and so I have listed some of these variations here. Now let me generalize this. So in general, if I look at these equation, I can have a pattern here. What is this pattern? This pattern is like this. I am every time constructing a new iteration by following formula S inverse T xk plus S inverse B. Okay, what is S matrix, what is T matrix changes from method to method, but essentially my equation looks like this. Whichever iteration method I take Gauss-Seidel. What is S in Gauss-Seidel? L plus D. What is T here? Minus U. T here is minus U. Okay, so I can actually list this. Okay, so my basic fundamental iteration equation is x k plus 1 is equal to S inverse T xk plus S inverse B. Now Jacobi method, S corresponds to D and T corresponds to minus L plus U. Okay, Gauss-Seidel method, S corresponds to L plus D, T corresponds to minus U. Can you guess? This is forward Can you guess what will be backward Gauss Seidel? See, here it is L plus D. What will be backward Gauss Seidel? U plus D. Okay, and here it will be minus L. Backward Gauss Seidel will be S corresponds to U plus D and T corresponds to minus L. In this case, relaxation method, what is S? This will be S matrix, okay, this will be T matrix. Actually you will have to probably divide by omega and then get that. To divide everything by omega, then you will get S and T matrices, okay. If you divide everything by omega, you will get S matrix, T matrix, and then same idea, okay. The fundamental equation is this. My fundamental equation is this, okay. So basically what I need to do is I need to analyze behavior of this equation, right? How does this equation behave? What is this equation? Have you seen these kind of equations? New value is equal to a matrix into old value. Have you seen these kind of equations? These are called as linear difference equations. New iterate is equal to matrix into old iterate. This is linear difference equation, except you might have seen this in time, okay. Here this equation is with respect to the iteration index of iteration, okay. So if I put it in some standard form, okay, which I am going to do soon, then things will fall in place. But you should be able to connect things, what you have done, some abstract form, and when it is going to be applied somewhere, okay. Now let's say these iterations converge, okay. We still haven't analyzed whether they converge or not, but let's say they converge and say X star is the solution, okay. Let's say my X star is the solution. So what will be the final equation? What do you mean by converge? What will happen if what will happen if this converges? It will give itself, right? The final value should give itself. So X star is equal to S inverse T X star plus S inverse B. Is this fine? So finally this is where I want to reach, okay. Let me call this as equation 1, let me call this as equation 2. I am going to subtract this equation from this equation. Can I do that? What will cancel? This term will be 0. So if I subtract 2 from 1, I get this equation x k plus 1 minus x star is equal to S inverse T x k minus x star. Right? Let me call this as error. Is this fine? This is new error. What is error? Error is the distance from the solution, okay, distance from the true solution. X star is the true solution. Well, I will show you that X star actually indeed is the true solution. When you do this method, okay, we have to show that we should reach finally the point which is solution of Ax equal to B. That also has to be shown, okay. We'll do that, of course. Is everyone with me on this? This is a linear difference equation. Okay. And then finally, I want to reach the solution of Ax equal to b. Okay. So far so good. So now let's start analyzing this equation. So we started from those complex row summations. Okay. Now we have come to a very compact, nice form. Everything looks like just, one simple equation. X ek plus 1 is equal to. Okay. How does this equation behave? Okay. Let's say I start with some initial guess. Say x naught is my initial guess. Okay. What is the error at time x naught? It is x star minus E0 is equal to x0 minus x star. What is this error? I do not know. If I knew, then I would know x star. No, I don't know what is this error. Nevertheless, I can do analysis without requiring to know the error. I am going to analyze the behavior of this equation. The beauty of this analysis is that you can analyze without requiring to know what is E naught or what is E1. Okay. I am just going to look at properties of S inverse T. Okay. If S inverse T has certain property, okay, I am guaranteed that this sequence of errors generated by this difference equation will go to 0. If error goes to 0, I am reaching the solution. What is the meaning of error going to 0? Difference between the iteration and a true is reducing. That's what I want to happen, right? Okay. So let's start applying this equation. So what is E1? S inverse T E0, right? What is E2? S inverse T E1, which is S inverse T square E0. Is this okay? I am just substituting for E1. I am just substituting for E1. Okay. What can you say about the error at instant K? No, at EK, can I write this is S inverse T raised to K? Can I write this? Well, while denoting vectors, this E is a vector, by the way. E is a vector. X is a vector, x star is a vector. Okay. So x naught minus x star is a vector, E is a vector. This notation of superscript in the brackets is intentional. You should not confuse it with, raised to something. This is not E raised to 0, this is 0th vector. Okay. So in the iteration at any point K, in the iterations, I have to now analyze what happens to this matrix when it is multiplied with itself multiple times. Okay. So what should happen now is, do you agree with me? What I want to happen is this: limit as k tends to infinity. If I do more and more iterations, I go closer and closer to the solution. That's what should happen. Okay. So, which means limit as k tends to infinity, S inverse T raised to k E naught should be 0 vector. Right? Is E0 a 0 vector? No, it's not a 0 vector. So what I want to happen actually is S inverse T raised to k should tend to 0 to null matrix as k tends to infinity. What should happen is S inverse T So I should choose S inverse T in such a way that this condition holds. Okay, that this condition holds. Looks quite formidable. How do I choose a splitting of a matrix in such a way that this condition holds? Okay. Well, not that bad as it looks like. We'll look at the theoretical basis, then it will be clear that it's not that difficult to do this. Let me first show that we are indeed going to go to the solution. Okay, by doing this, error is going to go to 0. If error goes to 0, where will you reach? Okay, you will reach the solution. Actually, if I apply the difference equation again and again, okay, I can show, I can start with this difference equation, xk is equal to S inverse T, or xk plus 1 is equal to S inverse T xk plus S inverse T S inverse B. I can start with this difference equation, apply it from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can show that actually xk is equal to S inverse T x naught. X naught is my initial guess. Okay, I am not deriving this. You can derive this very easily. What the expression that I am writing finally, just recursively write the equations and you will get what I am writing. Plus S inverse T k minus 1 plus S inverse T raised to k minus 2 up to S inverse T plus I into S inverse B. Okay, if you use this difference equation again and again, starting from x0, you will be able to derive this expression. Okay, now this expression has two components. If you look here, this expression has two components. What are the two components? One component is this S inverse T raised to k. I forgot to put k here, that's important. S inverse T raised to k. So this has S inverse T raised to k into x naught. Okay, now what we wanted to happen was S inverse T raised to k should go to null matrix. Okay, S inverse T should go to null matrix. So which means if this goes to null matrix, this part will be nullified. This part will be nullified. If I choose S and T intelligently such that this condition holds, okay, then this part will be nullified. Where will the iterations go? Right? Iterations will go to this. Now, whatever I am writing here, is this same as solving Ax equal to B? We have to prove that. Are you getting what I am saying? See, here I started with the argument that, well, look here. I started with this argument here. I said that error should be defined like this. Then there is a difference equation that governs the error. If I apply the difference equation, actually I will get that error at time k will be S inverse T raised to k error at time 0. Okay, error will go to 0 provided this matrix goes close and close to null matrix. Okay, this matrix, that's my next argument. This matrix should go close and close to null matrix. Then I looked at my original equation. This is my original equation, iteration equation. I applied it again and again, and then I could derive this. It's very easy to derive this expression. Okay, you start with x0, x1 is equal to something, x0 this, then x1 is equal to, or x2 is equal to S inverse T x1, and instead of x1 you substitute for, okay, you can eliminate and get everything in terms of x0 and then right hand side. Okay, it's just repeated application of this equation starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you will get this expression, not very difficult to derive. Now if this part goes to 0, what it means is that as you progress in the iterations, okay, the effect of initial guess goes to 0. Even if your initial guess is wrong, if you have chosen S inverse t correctly, this part will become 0. And whatever is your initial guess, the solution will start going towards this vector on the right hand side. So now what I have to show is that this vector on the right hand side is indeed the solution. That is first what I am going to show. Second, what I want to do is to give you insights into how do you choose S and T such that convergence is guaranteed. Okay, how to choose S and T such that convergence is guaranteed. That is my next mission. Okay, so my claim is that if this condition happens, that is S inverse T raised to K, if this goes to 0, 0 null matrix, if this is tending to null matrix, the solution, that is xk, tends to, okay, if this happens, then iterations tend to this vector. Okay, I want to use one matrix identity. I suppose you have studied this in your first year or in your 12th standard. I minus A inverse. I minus A inverse can be written as a series, right? So this is actually a series where K is increasing. So actually I can replace this by this, okay. So which means if I use this particular series expansion, okay, I can say that actually xk is tending to I minus S inverse T inverse S inverse B, right? See, this S inverse B is going to be there. I am just replacing this square bracket, I am replacing the square bracket by its limit as k tends to infinity. This is the limit, right? This equation is as k tends to infinity. As k tends to infinity, I can replace this thing in the bracket, okay, by I minus S inverse T whole to the inverse. Is everyone with me? Yeah? So what is this equal to? What is this equal to? Can you expand this further? This can be very easily shown to be S minus T inverse. Just expand this. You will get S minus T. You take S inverse common. You will get S. See, this thing in the bracket can be written as S inverse into S minus T. Whole thing inverse, right? What is S inverse inverse? S multiplied by S inverse will give you I. Okay, what remains is S inverse T inverse. But what is S minus T? S minus T is nothing but A. Okay, so this is nothing but, just go back and see, this is nothing but, okay, this is nothing but A. So this sequence is going to converge to the true solution, that is A inverse B. This method of constructing sequence of iterates is actually equivalent to inverting A matrix and getting the solution, provided you choose S and T correctly. What do you mean by S and T correctly? S and T should be such that S inverse T raised to K should go to null matrix. Okay, so now the next part of the puzzle is that, well, under what conditions this will happen? Under what conditions? How do you choose S and T such that you will go to? Under what kind of matrices? We'll look at class of matrices that will guarantee convergence. Then we'll look at we'll come to the point where we'll be able to tweak these matrices using relaxation method. Basically, what you may not expect right now, but what is going to come is eigenvalue analysis. Now, what I'm going to do is relate convergence to eigenvalues of this matrix S inverse T, and what I'm going to show is that if eigenvalues of S inverse T are strictly less than 1, okay, then convergence will occur. Then the problem is transferred to how to choose S and T such that eigenvalues of S inverse T are strictly less than 1. Okay, the problem is transferred to how do I choose S and T such that again. So we are going to relate this to eigenvalues. Okay, we are going to relate this to eigenvalues, a very, very fundamental. And actually, analyzing difference equations of this type is where the eigenvalue problem arises. That's what I want to also highlight. When we are taught in the linear algebra course eigenvalue problem, well, the teacher comes and write lambda a v is equal to lambda v. I mean, why a v is equal to lambda v. So you must have seen that eigenvalue problem pops out when you are trying to solve linear differential equations. I'm going to show that it pops out when you try to solve linear difference equations. Okay, same thing happens when you're trying to solve linear partial differential equations. You get eigenfunction problems, okay, eigenfunctions and eigenvalues. Here you will get eigenvectors and eigenvalues. Same idea used in different domains, okay, to understand how matrices behave without actually requiring to solve it. So the beauty of that analysis is that we'll be able to talk about convergence without actually solving for it. We can just look at the eigenvalues and say whether this will converge or not converge. Okay, that's what we are going to go towards. Okay, so we'll continue that with the next class. I'll start with analyzing linear difference equations and their behavior, and then correlate that to analysis of these equations.